Braden says, how would you approach content production and monetization for a local citywide directory? I am thinking to offer free listings to all my clients for 6 months to populate it and then power up the domain before charging a monthly subscription. Also, would an SEO Shield work for a site like this? How would you approach the Shield with different categories? Well, yeah, okay, Braden. If you're decided that that's what you want to do as a citywide directory, then good, good for you. And I hope that works out. I don't particularly like that approach. It makes sense to have a city directory that it's authoritative in the city, but there is kind of a finite number of businesses that you can bring into that. And also, depending on that, there's complexity in that, of which part of your question brings that up, which is there's a ton of different categories. Here's what I see as an issue with a general business directory is there are so many different categories. The site is not an authority on any one of them. So it's very hard to gain traction. Yes, you can make it locally relevant, and that's kind of the point, but it's hard to compete with a lot of the big national directories that have the same kind of number of general categories, right? Business categories, but have, locations, like they have business categories for every location. And so Yelp is incredibly powerful. If you do any backlink analysis for local businesses, you'll see that like Yelp, and in my case, like Angie, formerly Angie's List, Home Advisor, Lawn Starter, some of those, big directory sites that are, when I go look at backlink analysis and I'm looking at competitors, like top ranked competitors, the directory sites have little to no kidding. You can check it yourself, little to like close to zero external backlinks. And yet they're ranking top of, in the top 5 results all the time. Why is that? It's because they're authoritative domains and you're going to be competing with that. And it's hard to do on a local level with like local clients. I can compete with Yelp and Angie's List and Home Advisor and all that kind of stuff, because the site that we're going to build, even though there's not near as much authority, and I don't mean Moz domain authority, although that is part of it. I just mean like the brand authority, the authority of the entity, because I'm going to have a super topically relevant site that's going to be competing, and I'm going to have external backlinks, right? But what I'm saying is a lot of the times those general business directories, they're ranking on their authority alone and internal links, not on external backlinks. And so my point is they have a lot of authority built into them because they're so large. If you're staying on a local level with a directory and you have all these different categories, you're not topically an authority. You're not a topical authority on any one of them, if that makes sense. So it's very difficult to make way in organic ranking with a general business directory. Unless like it's super geographically, locally relevant. And so there's things that you can do for that. But personally, I think you're way better off if you select a particular industry. Like if you search for tree service directory, my directory site's #1. And there's not an enormous amount of SEO done to that. It's just decent structure, logical structure, and some backlinks, mostly press releases. And I'm ranked #1 for tree service directory nationwide. So it's much easier to get traction with a niche specific directory, right? An industry specific. And besides that, you get to know that industry really well. So all of your marketing messages, all of the vocabulary that you speak can be completely or hyper targeted towards that specific business or industry. It's much easier to rank. I mean, think about it. My directory site's less than a year and a half old. It's maybe 14 months old and I'm ranked #1. So for me, like I got another 2 different organic leads. I also get spammers that submit listings that we go and delete immediately that aren't tree service related. But I get a lot of organic leads now from all over the country, meaning I get people that come submit, tree contractors that submit their listings. And that's with not me doing, we do outbound prospecting. We're not doing it right now, but that's just organic user submitted listings. And so I would highly encourage you to consider doing an industry specific directory. However, that all said, if you still want to do a local business directory and be a general business, you like all these different categories, there's a lot of complexity with that. It's very difficult. You're going to have separate, like if you're going to do an SEO Shield, which yes, it's still powerful. I have an SEO Shield for my tree service directory, but it's all tree service related, right? If you look on my homepage of my tree service directory, you'll see there's the different, tree removal, tree trimming, stump grinding, land clearing, there's those different categories. And so I have like an SEO Shield with a G site and then a drive stack. And I have the primary folder, which is branded, and then the subfolders, which are like silos for each one of the subcategories. And I don't have them all done. I think I got the top 5 done. A couple of them like snow removal and anyways, landscaping and things like that. I don't have that built into the Shield because that's not really my market. Those are just kind of what are called tangent markets. But so the main ones are there. And so it's much easier in that way to build authority and get traction that way. And as far as like the directory and doing monetized listings, like paid listings, that's a monetization method. You can certainly do that. I just like to use the directory for prospecting, for starting a conversation with my target prospects so that I can upsell them into marketing services. But you can sell premium listings. One of the things, if you're going to do that though, is to make your authority strong enough to where those pages rank. Does that make sense? So like the directory page for the client ranks, and not just for their brand search. That's helpful to, at least initially, that you can usually get that to rank for the brand search fairly easily, but for a category search, right? So like their industry, a generic keyword search for their industry plus location, if you're able to get your directory page or their directory page ranked for that, now you've got something that you can charge for. I just find it hard. Like, again, I don't think until the directory is at a point where when somebody's doing a generic keyword search, your directory page listing for that company can rank. I don't think it's hard to pay to monetize that or to justify any more than just, a few dollars a month for that. So all of that is to say the directory, I think it's a great method. It's been my most successful in 10 years of doing SEO, digital marketing. It's been the most successful prospecting method I've ever used. So I really think it's a great model, but I don't think on a local level, it's a good model. I think you're better off selecting a niche that you have some sort of interest in that is lucrative. And then building a niche-based directory around that. It's not that difficult to rank those to be the number one directory for that, right? Because then you got the entire country, or even more than that if you want, as your prospect, your base, right? That's your target market. Whereas with your local business directory in whatever city it is that you're in, you have kind of a finite amount of businesses. I mean, yeah, there's probably a lot of businesses, but a lot of them aren't going to be interested anyways. And you know what I mean? And then again, it's very hard to build authority into that site because it's not topically focused around any one thing. It's so general. It's very difficult to gain traction in that. So that's just my experience. Yes, you can do an SEO Shield and all that. It would have to be massive because you'd have to have all the different subcategories. You can have, hierarchy in that with like, big categories and in the subcategories within each one of those large categories, like, for example, like home services and health and legal, right? Those would be like top level categories. But then in each one of those, how many sub niches are there, right? Like in legal, there's personal injury law, divorce law, family law, like immigration law, there's all that. And for home services, there's HVAC and plumbers and electricians and fencing contractors and roofers and landscapers and lawn care. And I mean, it goes on and on and on. So how do you build authority in any one of those? It's incredibly difficult. I think you're much, much better off selecting one industry and going after that. And that's just my opinion. So hopefully I didn't shoot you down. I want to take the wind out of your sail, man. I'm just trying to prevent you from going after something that's going to take so long to get any traction that you're going to lose interest. You're better off picking something that you have an interest in that is, I'm in a home services industry, I always have been. So there's, pick one, pick something that interests you and start to build a directory on that. Come join the mastermind, join the Build with Bradley group with a directory build. It starts not tomorrow, but 2 weeks from tomorrow. And select a niche. I'm going to walk you through how to build it. And then after there, how to build a prospecting machine and everything else and how to monetize it. It's a good opportunity. So, but if you decide to do a local business directory, by all means, keep me posted. Let me know how it goes. I'm not trying to kill your dreams, man. That's not it at all. I just would rather you be successful faster. And I think you would do that with a industry specific directory.